how do we take some of those best practices, when these life experiences forces us to really prioritize what's important? How are we able to be more efficient and productive and still not miss a beat? That's what we're looking forward to. Thriving in Tandem. It's a podcast for you, the married entrepreneur that wants to win in business and marriage at the same time.
Welcome to Thriving in Tandem.
All right, honey, ready for more change?
Just when things kind of start to balance out, my husband wants to change. So bring it on. I'm ready for change.
I know how much my wife loves change.
I've gotten way better, honey.
You have gotten way better. And now that you've gotten used to the name of our podcast, Power Up Your Marriage and Business, we're changing it.
Exactly.
So for you listening, you probably heard the introduction, Thriving in Tandem, and you're thinking, okay, is this the same podcast that I've been subscribing and listening to for the last 3 years? It is. We're just doing a little bit of a rebrand. We're not going to it's not going to be a huge change, but there are some fundamental things that we felt it was was worthy of a rebrand. So first of all, I think our name was a little too long. Power Up Your Marriage and Business. It was kind of long, right? So that was one thing. The other one is Thriving in Tandem. Well, it fits our book. Our book title is, what is it, honey? I put it on the spot.
Tandem, the Married Entrepreneur's Guide for Better Work-Life Balance.
There you go, honey. Good job.
I got it.
Our book has been out for over a year now, and so my wife is able to now, say the title and the subtitle. So,
I know the title and subtitle, honey.
So Thriving in Tandem, our new podcast name, Thriving in Tandem, obviously it fits our book better, right? Mm-hmm. Tandem. And so we figured
it fits us as well.
And it fits us as well, sure, of course. And we also, the big reason, probably the biggest reason for the rebrand was we felt we wanted to capture a little bit more of the behind-the-scenes stories of the married entrepreneur.
And boy, do we have some good stories and guests, you guys. Oh my gosh. I'm surprised how crazy good they are.
2 episodes from now will be our first guest with the new rebrand. And it's a doozy. It's great. I'm really looking forward to that interview. And so anyways, all to say is, as we were towards the end of last year, some of the interviews we're doing, they had these just dramatic stories of how they were these hustling, grinded out entrepreneurs, and then something happened in their life
along the way, and it kind of
changed their perspective and said, "What am I doing? Got to focus on relationship first." And the cool thing about it too is not only did they start to realize that relationships matter more than the business, but they were still able to grow a very successful, thriving business, or in some of the cases, multiple business, right? And so it just shows that you don't have to sacrifice your personal time, your family time, your marriage in order to succeed in business. You can do both.
And it's never too late to invest in your relationships, especially your families.
Yeah. And so, those are some of the stories we're going to dig into, is that, as well as how are they able to do it? I mean, we've been having guests talking about how they're able to do both marriage and business well, but we're gonna dig in, with the stories now. Is okay, how, there's a couple of guests coming up that there's some near-death experiences, right? And how do you navigate some of those things? Taking care of your spouse who's very sick and ill. You don't know if she or he is going to live, and yet you still have to take care of business, right? Things at home, the business itself. And so how are they able to do it? And I think those are great lessons, even when your spouse isn't sick, but just how do we take some of those best practices, when these life experiences forces us to really prioritize what's important. And then how do we, how are we able to be more efficient and productive and still not miss a beat, right? And so that's what we're looking forward to. We also want to share in this new relaunch episode is, why we even started this podcast to begin with, or why do we even do what we do, helping married entrepreneurs succeed in all aspects of life. And the first reason goes into what, our friend Mike Kim just major branding and marketing expert, but he always asks this question: what pisses you off, and what makes you sad, or what breaks your heart? Right? What pisses you off? What breaks your heart? So what pisses us off is a lot of hearing these thought leaders, and even still now, all these thought leaders out there in business saying you have to grind it out and sacrifice your personal life and relationships to succeed in business. Like you're doing this for your family, so they're just going to have to understand that the money you're generating is for them, right? And they keep preaching that kind of stuff, and that pisses me off. What about you? And then the other thing is the other thing too is the kind of the get rich quick schemes. I see a lot of, like on Facebook and Instagram, these 100x, sign up for this course and we'll 100x your business, and it just that pisses me off too.
Me as well, because a lot of times I feel like, this isn't always the case with the 100x thing, people being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
You see that in investing. You just see it all over the board. People not doing their due diligence. And it's just so sad to see. It could be devastating for people getting taken advantage of. And that really upsets me.
Yeah. And I think the principles or the concepts that they teach, I mean, I've seen some of them and I've participated in one just to check it out. The principles are fine. I think they're sound in a sense, but the reality is we think that all we got to do is follow this blueprint or this template, and then that's going to generate the success. And that's the part that, that kind of leads to kind of breaking my heart, is that people go from one of these things to another, one of these 100x things or blueprints or formulas or templates, one thing to another, to try to find that secret sauce, that thing that's going to launch their business forward, propel their business forward in a huge way, be able to scale and grow, and they don't get there.
Well, and I think, too, another thing is sometimes people think, oh, my gosh, if I pay $10,000 or some crazy price for this, that I'm going to get 100x back from that. And that's not always the case.
Yeah, and like I said, not to bag on it too much, because, like I said, some of these principles that they're talking about do work. It's just a matter of, I think the expectations of people going into that are a little too high. That because people want, we're in a microwave society, so people want quick results. And so sometimes these things can generate immediate success, but most of the time it's kind of what we call steady plodding. It's just being consistent and persistent, and eventually you're going to see that success. But very rarely do you see lightning in a bottle, where you follow this blueprint or formula, and in 2-3 months you're generating 7 figures, right, or more. So that's not necessarily the case. I think it's more the steady plodding, the persistence and consistency that is what creates success.
Well, and I think if the get rich quick things work so easily, I think most people would be doing them. I know a lot of people try them, but how often do you hear about a success with that?
Yeah, and then what breaks our heart, for us, seeing marriages and families suffer while the owner moves forward, or at least trying to build and grow this business. And so in the meantime, the family gets left behind. I mean, we've shared our story, and I think on the next episode, we're going to share our story around what we experienced growing up, being on the back end of that, right? And so that breaks our heart. And then the owner themselves, they have great intentions, right? Just like our dads did, had great intentions, providing for the family.
Hard workers. But
when they're doing that and they're sacrificing personal time, they end up feeling lonely, stressed, while working long hours. And that breaks our heart, right? It does. And so this kind of mentality of, sacrificing the family time and personal time to build this business creates this loneliness, stress, and it's just not a great, fulfilling life, right?
And then when they get older, they're all by themselves. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, exactly. Even if they're with people, with family, but a lot of times they can be by themselves, and sometimes they lose their family. And a lot of times they still end up losing the business. And that's what breaks our heart. And so this podcast is meant to show you that there's a better way to be able to build a business, that you can prioritize your family, your marriage, and still build a thriving business.
Because it's heartbreaking to see people lose their family and their business, and then what do they end up with? Nothing.
Yeah.
And then at an old age, they're all by themselves, and they don't have the relationships anymore. It's just so sad.
Yeah, and there's a book out there, top dying regrets, or top regrets of the dying. And even I've seen articles of entrepreneurs as they get older, some of the regrets, and it's all based on personal issues, relationships, and how they took care of themselves, their own health. And so we want to help you do it better. That there is a different way, there is a better way that you can prioritize your relationship, prioritize your marriage, and still build a great business. And we are so looking forward to hearing these interviews of these married entrepreneurs that are doing it or have done it, and be able to share their secret to success to this, as well as, we'll have our opportunities to even share our journey as well, right?
Yeah, I love hearing the stories about how people turn things around after they had a big, near-death experience or something really big, how they had their aha moment, and that really changed everything for them.
Yeah, so these next 5-6 episodes, well, except for the second one after next one, is going to be us kind of setting the stage for this new rebrand, Thriving in Tandem. And so next week we're going to dig a little bit more into our story. I know we sprinkle it, in here and there throughout the last few years, but I think next episode we're going to dig in a little bit deeper, huh? Mm-hmm. Right, honey?
Yes.
So thank you for listening for Thriving in Tandem. If you're a new listener, welcome. If you're just an existing subscriber, thank you for keeping on with us. And we will be back with you next week for our first full episode of Thriving in Tandem. God bless you all. Thank you for listening to the Thriving in Tandem podcast. Please visit our website, marriedentrepreneur.co, for a variety of free resources to help your marriage and business succeed.
And feel free to leave us a review and share this episode with another married entrepreneur. That would mean so much to us.
See you next week.